Bitcoin's atomic structure. In chemistry, we have elements like copper, iron, and helium. Chemistry gives you this enormous complexity of things that you can combine to make interesting things, like people and toasters. When you dig into the chemistry, you realize that copper isn't a thing. Copper is a pattern of protons, neurons, and electrons. There is no copper. One proton is the same as another proton. It can just as happily be part of helium or copper. It doesn't care. There's nothing about that specific proton that makes it part of copper. Chemistry is one layer, but underneath that is atomic physics. That layer is very simple. It has a handful of elements. A handful of just a few elements makes up all of the chemistry that we know. 100 plus elements exist in nature that all have unique and different properties that are completely different. Some of them are liquids, some of them are metals, some of them are gases. They behave differently. Some are acidic, some are not. But none of that is their basic makeup. These are just patterns. Bitcoin has this fundamental atomic structure, this elemental structure. The elements of Bitcoin are the components of transactions and the elements of the scripting language. Those elements have nothing to do with traditional banking. There are no accounts and balances and senders and receivers. Instead, Bitcoin's elements are looking for fundamental mathematical properties and cryptographic properties, such as whether a hash is equal to another hash, whether an elliptic curve signature matches another elliptic curve signature, manipulation of numbers, etc., etc. What you see on the surface, the transactions, are just constructs. They're a specific way of mashing up the elements that creates something that kind of looks like a bank, which is great because if you're new to Bitcoin and someone tells you, well, there's an account, a sender, and a receiver, you think, okay, I understand this. Then you learn that you have a wallet, but that your wallet doesn't have coins. It has keys, and those keys could be copied. And now you're thinking, you're losing me. This doesn't quite match my experience. Things get complicated because Bitcoin isn't what you think it is. It's a platform. It's not a payment network. It's not a currency. It's not a banking system. It's a platform that guarantees certain trust functions. If you happen to have a platform that guarantees certain trust functions, one very useful application for that is to build a currency and a payment network. But you can build more things. Oh, hello there. I didn't see you guys come in. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. I was just reading a little bit more of Andreas Antonopoulos's The Internet of Money. Specifically, we were talking about Bitcoin's atomic structure and how Bitcoin, much like an element like copper, is made up of smaller things like atoms and protons and neutrons and all these kind of things. And that even though we think we understand Bitcoin when we say sender and receiver and transaction, and we use these old banking words to understand it, we really don't understand Bitcoin. One of the interesting things that I've always found about Bitcoin that people told me that you might not even believe if I tell you, but when you send Bitcoin, you actually send all of your money to the address. Then the address splits it and sends you back your change into your address. That's why the system always exposes how much money you have. And if you go back in my donations and you click on various people, you can not only see how much they donated, you can also see how much they have left in their wallet. And if they're reusing Bitcoin addresses, which you're not supposed to do, you could connect them and you could follow their wallet to other wallets and you could unravel their whole chain. But isn't that interesting? You send all the money and it sends you back the change. You never noticed this, and you probably sent dozens of Bitcoin transactions with no idea what's happened, but it happened every time. Pretty neat, huh? Well, let's get started on Bitcoin Talk Show. Where'd my graphics go? Here they are. Should mute the phone calls in case you call in. Today is Thursday, August 16th, 2018. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's happening today in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is up 2.06% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 6,403, a high of 6,615, and a low of 6,200. 221. That's $1 for 15,602 Satoshis. Let's spin the big wheel. And here are your top 10 altcoins sorted by volume according to WorldCoin Index. Ethereum up 4%, Bitcoin Cash up 3.5%, Ethereum Classic up almost 8%, EOS up 2%, Litecoin up 3.5%, Ripple up 4.25%, Qtum down 1%, Dash is even, and Tron is up 1.5%, rounding out the top 10. Taking a look at the decentralized applications, it still looks like more people watch this show than use decentralized applications. We do have some minor updates and changes in the ranking, however. IDEX and Fork Delta continue to lead the only distributed applications to have more than 1,000 users at first and second place. FOMO 3D is in third place in gambling, and we have some newcomers to the top 5 list in our recent watching of it. CryptoKitties moves into fourth place with 472 users, followed by Ethereumon, another game with 450 users. Once again, the top 5 distributed applications have less than 5,000 users. Blockchain activity matrix. It's still the same, but it's always good to take a look. EOS, Steam, and BitShares still lead blockchain activity. Ethereum is still clogged, and the Bitcoin pool is at 46.99%, doing just fine. As always, you can support the World Crypto Network by donating Bitcoin or even crazy altcoins to the donation addresses on your screen right now. Many of these crazy altcoins, no one has ever donated to us. I wonder if they even work. You can also support the World Crypto Network at patreon.com/WCN or at patreon.com/madbitcoins. And we have our Tallycoin fundraiser where we're trying to raise $1 million to spread the word about Bitcoin. So far, we've collected $194.53. We are now 0.02% towards our goal of $1 million. We just had another donation yet on the 13th. Thanks so much for your support. 0.0007. Getting a lot of sevens these days. Very lucky. And now, the moment you all been waiting for, yesterday's comments. Yesterday's comments. And let's first check out yesterday's report card. We got 110 likes. Very good, just over the 100 like barrier. And we received 1,230 views. Pretty good for a Wednesday. Let's check out what you said about yesterday's episode. Chris from Chicago wants to have an explaining of why the Lightning Network is complicate. Okay. The Lightning Network is complicated. I don't know. But I did a little bit on the Lightning Network yesterday, as he happens to mention it. I guess we only got one comment today. Yesterday's comments is pretty dull today. But I did check out the Lightning Network. I created a Lightning Network full node and connected it to my Zap wallet. I did it live on the air. I made some mistakes. It's fun. You guys can enjoy that. Once again, I could have, pre-done it and faked it and everything, but it was more exciting to do it live. And I think I learned something. And I think if you don't know that much about Linux and you've never used the screen command before to run a program in the background, certainly a concept that I understand, but I'd never used screen. So it was pretty fun. You can also check that out on the World Crypto Network down below. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. We have 51 live viewers. If we had 51 thumbs up, YouTube would recommend this video to other people, and other people would get to see this show. And maybe they could learn about Bitcoin. We have sad news from Yahoo Finance. Crypto market crash prompts suicide concerns. And what really prompts suicide concerns is these articles. They keep coming out with articles like, if you had bought Bitcoin at this time last year, you would have made this much money. And then when the price is down, they're like, if you had bought Bitcoin 3 months ago, you would have lost this much money, and so on and so forth. These articles drive up the FOMO and make people go crazy. But as Somebody's yelling down. As always, with these crypto markets, we just need to keep an eye on things. If you're not feeling well, if you've lost a lot of money, it's a good idea to get help. Just talk to somebody, talk to a friend, call the suicide hotline. There are people out there that can help you. It is a bummer to lose all this money. It's a it might come back, it might not come back, but it is disappointing. So just get help if you need it. All right. We're gonna pause for not sure why. Uh, all right. We're gonna be back in just a minute. Hold on to your head. Okay. Apparently, one of my roommate's cell phones wasn't working, so they were fixing it by yelling at it and banging it against the wall. So I tried to investigate and offer my consideration and suggestion that they go to anger management. But they're still very upset because their cell phone isn't working. So banging it against the wall will not help. Certainly, it attracts me. I'm certainly interested when I hear people screaming and banging things against the wall, and I try to help. Not always helpful, I guess. I don't know how to help people that are super angry and yelling. So let's try to move on with the show here. Sorry about that, guys, but I just had to investigate. So, with Bitcoin sinking, crypto miners just dig deeper, and the mainstream media just can't figure it out why these Bitcoin miners just keep mining Bitcoin. We can see a chart right here of Bitcoin's hash rate, and it keeps rising even though the price of Bitcoin falls. So we must wonder, what do these miners know that no one else knows? And there's a lot of different options. What the miners might know. First of all, the miners might have just made their bets early, like they have millions of dollars in the bank and they're ready to go, and they're going to hold Bitcoin for maybe 5 years, or they're going to hold Bitcoin maybe for 10 years. And if they win big. And if they lose everything. And that's the kind of bet that people make. And that some of these miners are out there with tons of cash reserves, tons of miners, plenty of electricity, and they're ready to go on this mining thing. Also, they speculate that it could be hobbyists at home, people that are just believe in Bitcoin and just keep mining it no matter what. Although I found that most hobbyists have to sell all of their Bitcoin every month to pay their electricity bills. So it's unlikely that they are just buying and holding, and the price would certainly affect them. However, these long-term miners, these miners that are incredibly well-funded, incredibly well-organized, they don't care about the price. They've looked at Bitcoin from a larger scale on a longer timeline, and they are willing to do whatever they can in the next 5 or maybe 10 years to acquire as much Bitcoin as they can. They are willing to pay. So that's why I think the mining rate keeps going up, and that the miners simply believe there's only 21 million of these. If you look at the difficulty in mining with the way that the halvening structure works, right now I think you get around 12 and a half Bitcoins every 10 minutes. If we look at it in 2020, you would get 6 and a quarter. If we look at it again, 2024, you would get 3 and an eighth. Right? So if you're looking at those numbers and you're making a bet on Bitcoin, you want to get as many miners as you can online right now, mining as much Bitcoin as you can, and then holding it as long as you can. If you were a well-funded company with hundreds of millions of dollars and no concerns about running out of electricity or having to pay for it every month, you could pull off this kind of strategy and be either incredibly well off in 5 years or incredibly broke in 5 years. That's the game they're playing. That's what risk is all about. US investors can now invest in a fully regulated Bitcoin ETN. What's an ETN? It's not an ETF. Uh, the product is listed and regulated in Sweden, but it is already quoted in US dollars, allowing traditional US accounts to buy. So it looks like Sweden has beaten the US to an ETN. Let's see, similar to an ETF. Let's see, tell us the difference. This ETN structures, let's see, same sponsor, same role. CoinShares buys Bitcoin with each share issuance, which means this, oh, don't do that. That means this ETN functions similarly to an ETF despite differences in structure. See this excerpt from their fact sheet. Hence, as shares slash rise AUM grows, CXBTF is buying Bitcoin. So this sounds pretty good. We've got this ETN going right here. They buy Bitcoin every time they sell a share. So it sounds ETNs are instrument of debt. They're also backed by the entity that issues them and not a pool of assets. That's pretty interesting. That doesn't sound as good as an ETF. I think an ETF, they'd have to buy a large amount of Bitcoin and hold them. It sounds like with an ETN, they buy Bitcoin every time someone buys the product, right? Then they buy Bitcoin. That they're backed by the entity that issues them. So you'd have to trust the bank or whatever it is to have the money and not a pool of assets. It seems like there would be a big problem here if Bitcoin went up like crazy and the ETN wasn't actually holding Bitcoin. Then the entity would have to back your bet. They say there's a counterparty risk in an ETN that there isn't in an ETF. So it sounds slightly more risky. It sounds like a different kind of thing. The creators of the ETF, who are still requesting permission, do not see this as a competitive product. And they say that their products have not traded at a premium and are liquid, saying that this product is probably not. So interesting moving forward. I'm not sure that an ETN is what we want or an ETN in Sweden. No disrespect to Sweden. The US just simply has a larger financial market, and if something happens in the US market, we kind of expect it to happen in all the other markets. Bitcoin price live. Bitcoin slides back to the negative returns after a strong day of gains. More news from the express.co.uk tabloid. And this is great. They're covering Bitcoin live. All about the price, all about the price, and all about the price. 6.6 thousand Bitcoin price eyes new target for bull reversal. It doesn't sound good. We're still pretty far from there. Let's go straight to the view. Bitcoin bulls are slowly gaining ground and could attack the inverse head and shoulders neckline resistance at 6,675 in the next 24 hours. A break above 6,675, if accompanied by a pickup in volume, would confirm a bearish to bullish trend change and allow a rally to 7,490. On the way higher, Bitcoin could encounter resistance at 69.24, the 50-day moving average, or the rising trend line hurdle as seen on the chart, or even the 100-day moving average. There's lots of potential resistance. Acceptance below 6,180, the previous day's low, would pour cold water over the optimism generated by the inverted hammer candle and would shift risk in favor of a drop below $6,000. So it doesn't sound like we're out of the woods yet. We are still in a potential bear market or a potential bull market. That's right. These chart predictors are just like economists or weathermen. Tomorrow, it might rain, but it also might not. If it goes over this line, it will predict rain and I will be correct. But if it goes over that line, it will predict clear and I will also be correct. No matter which way it goes, I am always right. I am the source of all knowledge in the universe. Thou shalt listen to me. And if you like that, I've got some beachfront property in Arizona to sell you. Beautiful land, right on the edge of the ocean. Fantastic. Zappo chairman is optimistic. Lower Bitcoin price means better opportunity to buy it. And I love it when millionaires and billionaires tell us that something's on sale. That always makes me feel warm and fuzzy. Who can you trust more than someone that's already made a lot of money? They have no reason to lie or to just make things up. In a recent statement, Rogers, the chairman of Zappo, said, "We could be in the midst of an extinction level event for crypto assets that many maximalists have predicted." Ah, name dropping. All right. 90% of coin market cap will disappear eventually. It might as well happen now. Meantime, lower Bitcoin price means incredible opportunity to buy more Bitcoin. Well, that sounds pretty good. I'm actually more in favor of that than I thought. He's predicting the death of the altcoins, and he's saying that it's always a good time to buy more Bitcoin. I'm on board with that. Did Tether trigger a short squeeze or a dead cat bounce? Once again, look at how these economists do it. They're predicting both sides of this. They're asking a question. They're not providing you with any information. I'm not sure why you guys don't get that. It can't be either or. It has to be one or the other. Schrodinger's cat is alive or dead. We must find out. But Tether printed another $130 million of Tether. Perhaps that's why the price went up and then the price went down. Hmm. Oh well. Many people believe that it was a short squeeze, meaning that many people were shorting Bitcoin because they thought it was going down. Then a bunch of other people bought Bitcoin, causing the price to rise and wrecking all of the shorts. Or it could have been a dead cat bounce, meaning that Bitcoin has not found the bottom yet and may go lower. Once again, I'm an economist and I predict things on both sides. I am very bullish and I am very bearish at the same time. How is that possible? Cognitive dissonance. I just don't know. Why is Bitcoin so desperate for an ETF? Well, because it means many big new buyers and one big new holder, and because it would be another sign that the financial markets are accepting and coming to Bitcoin. That's about right. I don't know about desperate, but we're definitely looking for it. It's the simplest way out of this bear market. It's the simplest way to get a bunch more investors and to once again bring Wall Street on board. Like the commissioner of the SEC wrote in her dissenting letter, the problems brought up by the SEC when they rejected the Winklevi ETF would be solved by the creation of an ETF. Bitcoin is not very well linked to the financial markets. Bitcoin doesn't have enough liquidity or buyers and sellers. Adding an ETF, like she says in her letter, would fix all of these things. So it's a unique chicken and the egg situation for the financial markets. If they don't accept an ETF, Bitcoin won't grow and become part of the markets. If they do accept an ETF, Bitcoin will grow and become part of the markets. So that's all you have to do. That's all you have to know. And remember, eventually, once they get one of these ETFs, everybody else will be running into the market trying to start their own Bitcoin ETF. The media coverage of Bitcoin is still a disaster. A fantastic Medium article from Nick Carter, a partner at Castle Island Ventures and the co founder of CoinMetrics.io. He says the media coverage of Bitcoin is still a total disaster, and he's written a detailed rebuttal to the Washington Post slash wonk blog piece for the nonsensical ramble that it is. The article in question, Bitcoin is still a total disaster, is full of false claims, which the author of this Medium piece thoroughly destroys. The first claim, currencies are meant to be stable. There's one thing that a currency is supposed to do that Bitcoin never has. That's maintain a stable value. As the author responding says, this assumes that Bitcoin is a currency, and the definition of currency is normative. X should do Y, as opposed to descriptive. Things of type X have qualities Y and Z. I'd classify Bitcoin, the protocol, as a complete monetary system, and Bitcoin, the unit of value, as commodity money, which has the potential to become a gold-like reserve currency. Commodities fluctuate. That's what they do. Currency isn't meant to be a stable value. Currency moves all over the place, and so on. Claim number two, Bitcoin was designed with volatility in mind. Why has Bitcoin's price been so up and down? Well, part of it is that it was designed that way. And as he's saying, this is an odd rewrite of history or a strange interpretation of Bitcoin's purpose. The impossible trinity tells that it's impossible to have free, free capital flow, sovereign monetary policy, and a fixed exchange rate all at the same time. Bitcoin was designed with sovereign monetary policy and a free flow of capital. No one underwrites or backs Bitcoin, so it cannot be pegged to a real world basket of goods. That's the same with gold. Both have emergent monetary premia. This can't be planned for. It just so happened this way. Needless to say, Satoshi didn't design Bitcoin to be unstable. He wanted to solve the problems of double spends with digital cash so that it didn't rely on a single validator. Its volatility is an emergent property, not a design objective. Claim number three, validating transactions is the source of its computational overhead. As the author says here, they simply don't understand how Bitcoin works. Proof of work mining ensures that the network determinately converges to a shared history, but it's the nodes, the full nodes, that perform the validation and record keeping behavior. The cost of maintaining the Bitcoin data store is an externality pushed onto full nodes through bandwidth and storage costs. This is not the job of miners. This is a basic distinction lost on many, and very embarrassing that the Washington Post didn't take the time to learn how Bitcoin worked, or assigned a reporter to write the article who knew how it worked. Claim Bitcoin's volatility is unnatural. Volatility isn't inbuilt, it's a feature of every non pegged economic asset. The Post should keep its fragilista thinking to itself. And they say plain old manipulation. You really mean to tell me that you think $100 billion network was manipulated into existence? Is it so difficult to accept that Bitcoin provides a differentiated, useful service to millions of people worldwide, and that's why it has value? Does the Post have any proof that markets are not long-term efficient? If so, they have a Nobel Prize in economics to collect. And so on and so forth. Pump and dump schemes, not Bitcoin's fault. Bitcoin is only used as a currency used to the wealth effect. That's not what makes it work. Bitcoin works as a transfer things because it's a pretty good distributed clearinghouse for value. If Bitcoin was stagnant at $1,000 for the next 10 years, it would still remain a good way to transfer things. So it's not the wealth effect that's driving it as a currency. If it was stable, it'd be just as valuable. Claim Bitcoin's deflationary characteristics means that no one is going to use it. And she says that, oh, if you could buy $100 of Bitcoin today, why would you spend it if you think it's going to be worth 1,000? And that people aren't spending it, but he shows right here. We can see the transaction volume. We can see how much money was being sent. And it's pretty clear that you're going to spend it eventually. If your $100 becomes $1,000, you might need that $1,000. Or your $10 might have become 100 and it's time for you to spend. Everyone has their own timeline. Everyone has their own how long can they hold Bitcoin and when do they need to buy some food. Eventually, you're going to have to buy some food. It's just not going to work the way that they think with everyone holding it forever. Uh, like people just held Apple stock forever. People sell Apple stock. It still goes up in value. It goes down in value. People make do, and on and on and on. But great rebuttal by Nick Carter. Let's go straight to his summary. Summary is really long too, man. You got to give me a little bit less. But let's see. Bitcoin's complexity doesn't acquit these pundits for getting simple facts about Bitcoin blatantly wrong. And ultimately, their ignorance hurts their bottom line. Being amateurishly wrong about the basic details of a system that is widely understood undermines their integrity and makes readers question their work. Mr. Bezos, a true capitalist, should understand this and demand more from his employees. Now, moving on to today's Twitter news. Let's see, was I going to start with that? Oh, well, I'll start with this. Yesterday, we had the great article Bitcoin is useless as a payment mechanism and ridiculous as a store of value, ex PayPal CEO says. And of course, I quoted the classic George Carlin bit, which None Your Business was kind enough to go copy and paste for me. He says, and now, in the interest of equal time, here is a message from the National Institute of Pancakes. It reads, and I quote, fuck waffles. But that's a metaphor. That's what PayPal is doing right there. They're saying that their competition is no good, much like the National Institute of Pancakes is not a big fan of waffles. We say a sad goodbye and join Tim Cook in mourning the passing of Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul. As Tim writes, her voice will keep lifting us through the music she gave the world. Our thoughts are with her family, her loved ones, and fans everywhere. Take her hand, precious Lord, and lead her home. Aretha Franklin died yesterday at 76 years old. Last night, I went to the Comedy Cellar at the Rio. As I say, comedy's so good, they have to keep it underground. Of course, it's a fake cellar. There's no cellar in Las Vegas. But it was pretty amazing. You won't believe what happened at the comedy show. This girl in the front row got up and plugged her phone into the stage. The other comedians couldn't believe it. They said they hadn't seen anything like it in 20 years. The guy who came up after her did 5 minutes on it. 5 minutes on this girl who just got up and plugged in her phone. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. She was already in the front row, and you know you're going to get made fun of by the comedian if you're in the front row. But to attract it like that, to get up and just in front of everybody, she plugged it in. She put it up there on the rail. We could all see it if she was going to get a text message or if it was charging properly and so forth. It was the funniest thing. It was um, it was funnier than any of the other comedians' acts that night. We were rolling. People could not believe it. And the guy did a really good 5 minutes. He was really solid, and, I felt that during the rest of his act, he could have dropped his jokes and come back to it and made more fun of it, but I think he would have died laughing too. I couldn't keep it together. I was crying. It was so good. We also had a great response from John Trumpet on Twitter. John says, "I'm in a band. At a charity event last year, after the meal, the first act came on. No sound, no lights, half the gear off. It turned out later they figured out that a guest had gone behind a pillar and unplugged half the supply to the stage to charge his phone. It took them 20 minutes to sort it out." So this wasn't just at the comedy show that I was at. This seems to be happening all over the place and all over the world, that people just get up and plug in their phones and they're completely disconnected from what's going on the stage, or that they're there to see a show, or that, it's the comedian's job to entertain us, and you're getting up in the middle of their job to go charge your phone. It was just an amazing, amazing scene. Yesterday, like I said, I set up a Lightning wallet, a Lightning node, and a Zap wallet live. It went pretty well. I obviously skipped a step, and I wasn't familiar with the word of spelling or using the app screen. which allows you to run apps in the background on Linux. So, certainly I screwed that up, and thanks to the chat, I was able to get it through and to get it to work. And later today, I have some testnet Bitcoins, and I have my Zap Lightning wallet, and I don't know what to do now. So maybe you guys can help me out with that later in the show. If you have a testnet Lightning wallet address, maybe I can send some testnet Bitcoin to that. Maybe you can send some back. I don't know. I got a faucet that gave me some testnet Bitcoin, and now I have them in my Lightning wallet, but I tried to send it to myself or something. I couldn't get that to work. So maybe you guys can help me figure that out. Shem Booth Spain from the World Crypto Network has a great Captain Picard quote. It's probably from the first season when Star Trek was very, very perfect and they had no problems, but still generally true, at least until Deep Space Nine. The economics of the future is somewhat different. You see, money doesn't exist in the 24th century. The acquisition of wealth is no longer the driving force in our lives. We work to better ourselves and the rest of humanity. A great quote from Captain Picard there. And just a reminder of something that B.L. Dewyan said in the comments the other day. He said he could tell that I only worked on things that I wanted to work on. And that's always something that I'd like to do. Reading this quote, thinking about Star Trek The Next Generation, I've always thought of it as a wonderful place where if you wanted to study science, you could study science. If you wanted to study history or economics or whatever, you can go and study it. Then you can apply your gifts and give your talents and your things back to Starfleet and back to mankind and even the Federation, civilian government, and so forth. It just seemed like a very wonderful place where people could do and learn the things that they want to learn. So very much enjoyed Star Trek. Looking forward to the new show with Captain Picard. We just have a little bit more. Oh, I did that already with the waffles. We've got a Bitcoin meetup tonight in Las Vegas. So if you are near or in the Las Vegas area, please come on down to our Bitcoin meetup. We're meeting up at Craft and Kitchen. It's a little bar down here. They've got great food and interesting beers. So check that out. Then tomorrow, we're going to be going back to Fremont Street to hand out more flyers about Bitcoin. That's right. You were wondering what it would take to spread Bitcoin for it to go wide and mainstream and have adoption. It turns out what it's going to take is you out there on the street handing out flyers. It's going to take you talking to your friends and family and telling them the good word about Bitcoin. And we just start now. You don't need to wait. Like you're the ones you've been waiting for. And oh, I had that screen share open for a reason. Let me try it one more time. We did before we start the call-in section, so everyone should get ready, get your phones ready. I found this great quote yesterday from Max Kaiser, and it says Max Kaiser has a message for Professor Faustus, which is Craig Wright, Roger Ver, and Falk Vinge, the founder of the Pirate Party, but now he's more into Bcash for some reason. And hopefully the video and audio are going to work. Fingers crossed. Here we go. A short clip from Max Kaiser. We're going to play just a little bit of this, then we'll talk about it, and we will open up the calls here on Bitcoin Talk Show. As usually start the calls around 9:30, right after the news. Oh, this Twitter thing doesn't work. Ah, so disappointing. Well, anyway, what Max said was something along the lines that these men who used to be heroes, they used to be, Jesus and so forth, they've become Judases. They've become fallen angels. And that while at one point they could have been part of Bitcoin, which might be one of the most important projects in history, instead, they've become negative examples. But Max still says that he appreciates them because they teach us through their negative examples. Through the negative example of Roger Ver, we can now compare him and see the positive example of Andreas Antonopoulos. Things like this. We can tell the good Bitcoiners from the bad Bitcoiners because of the horrible things that the bad Bitcoiners have done. So I'm just going to drink some more water. And I'm going to open up the calls. So go ahead and give us a call right now at 518-600-1949. We're on the Google Voice system. So if you'd like to get a Gmail account, over at Google. You could go get that. And then you could call us even internationally, I'm told. You can use a Gmail account through your computer to make international phone calls to anyone, anywhere. And you could also just pick up your phone right now from your pocket and call us at 600-1949. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Thomas. This is Russell. I'm from Missouri.
All right, Russell, what's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
Well, just wanted to say good article. I like that one that you just read about, the different Bitcoin contributors and how you can see some of the good and the bad and just compare them. That was a really good little tweet that was put out there. But one thing I've just wanted to talk about where Bitcoin is right now, and I don't know whether Bitcoin has turned and is on an upswing now, or if it's going to go down like Tone Vase says it is, or what is it? I really don't know what Bitcoin is going to do. Nobody really does. But I would like to kind of pose a theory that I see happening in where 2017 is kind of it was a great time, but also it was a time where there was some maybe a delusion or whatever, because everybody's thinking that Bitcoin is going to do the same thing again. It's going to go big, fast in the next 3 months or something like that, and I hear a lot of people talking about that happening, and it's like, I believe Bitcoin in the long run, but I don't know whether it's going to be a slow, gradual rise, like a normal curve, or if it's going to be a parabolic rise to 50,000. We don't know what route it's going to take, and I lean more towards more of a shallower curve, a upward curve, yes. And when you look at it in the long run, it will be parabolic, but it's just not going to be like it was in December of 2017. I think that was an anomaly, and maybe I'm wrong. I haven't been in it long enough to have experienced any others, but that's just my thought.
Well, the main thing that I know about Bitcoin is just from the past, looking at it in the past, it does tend to move that way, right? It does tend to go kind of crazy up for a little while, then down for a while, then maybe back to the middle. I zoomed this chart here out all the way that I can get it. And this little bump back here to 1200, that was one of the biggest events in my life, right? If you look back a little bit further, this itty bitty bump down here to 300, that blew my mind and got me into Bitcoin, and totally, I regret the past and everything. But from then on, I was like, well, I'm into Bitcoin. This is my thing. And then boom, 1200, totally crazy, takes everybody by surprise, dips back down to the 300s, 400s. Then we have the big long pain, right? Which everyone has totally forgotten. But this pain went on for like a year, 2 years here, where it was below 800, it was below 400 for a long time. So I do think that we have another pain period coming, and that there must be some kind of a downtime in between this big spike and presumably the next big spike. But I think if it does spike, it'll be similar to this, like this crazy thing that we just can't understand. Because I remember during the 1200 spike, it felt the same as during this 19,000 spike, where you're like, every day you check it, every day it's gone up more, and you just don't know what to do. You don't know if you should sell, if you should buy more, if you should just hold on to what you have. But yeah, it seems to move pretty radically. I just don't know if we're ready for another radical move yet, or if we need some more time in this middle.
Okay, very good. That's good to hear someone who's been in it for 2 or 3 or 4 of these spikes, because like I said, I've been in it for a little bit over a year. So I've been through one of those spikes, and I believe in it. I'm still dollar cost averaging. I've kind of spiked down my dollar cost averaging just in a little bit, because I need to get out of debt, which is my main push right now in my life, is to get out of debt, so I can actually, instead of just doing $100 a paycheck, maybe go $500 a paycheck. Once I get out of debt, I'll have that freedom to be able to put the amount that I want to put in there. Well, more than the amount that I want to put in there. But I am of the I almost believe that Tone Vase, his not that I like it, but I believe that his belief, his model, his what he thinks is going to happen actually brings more sanity into what has happened in the past as well. It's just going to take a lot of pain, and we're going to find out who the true strong hands are, who the true believers and hodlers of Bitcoin are. When we finally do go up, those will be the ones that, you know, it won't matter that you didn't get in when it was 10 cents. You got in when it was 6,000, when it was, you know, 5,000. You got in at that point. You're miles and miles ahead of the person who's just now starting. So I believe we're going to probably go through that again. But again, I just have never seen that. So I've seen it again. So it'll be interesting to get myself through that next parabolic jump, if you will, parabolic, I guess, new paradigm.
Yeah, I've always found it's really easy to sell fear. If you want to sell fear and make people afraid and just say negative things all the time, it's really easy. So I would watch out for that, and I'd also watch out for people that say things like, "Oh, it's going down, but long term it can only go up." This is still an experiment, right? The main problem I have with us touching 6,000 again is you get the fear, and you're like, "Is this thing worth 6,000? Is it worth two? Is it worth $300?" No one really knows the value of Bitcoin, and for a while there, you know, when we were in the $300 range, that felt fair, right? That felt like, oh, Bitcoin's $300. That seems about right. I remember when it was $1,200, I was like, that seems about right. I like it when it's 1,000. It's easy to calculate, right? Any big round number like that. But then we, you know, spiked up really fast to 20,000. It looks like we're coming back down. But yeah, I mean, it's if you're in a bear trend and we're going downward, you just keep predicting the bear trend, right? The hard part is predicting the flip over, right? When we switch from bearish to bullish, or when we switch from bullish to bearish. If you just predict one way and just keep sticking with it, eventually you'll be right. And also, all of these little bumps along the way, you can claim you're right. Like right now, it went back down to this, so you must be right. But if it goes back up, then you say, oh, it's just going to go back down. I don't really think that the chart readers can see the future. And if they did, why wouldn't they bet their own money on it? I'd be especially careful of a chart reader who tells you publicly several times that he is not trading his own advice. So it's very questionable out there.
Right. You got a good point there. And you got to say one thing. It's definitely not easy, because if it was, it wouldn't be as valuable as it is. If it was easy, everybody would know when it was going to go up. Everybody would be in it, and it just wouldn't have the value that it does. It's not easy, and you got to be in at the right time, at the right moment, you know, to capitalize. One thing I know that I did is when I saw it going up crazy back at the end of this year, I was still putting my money in, but I wasn't putting it in the market. I was just watching the rise, just going, wow. and then when it started coming down, at a certain point, I said, okay, time to start putting my money back in. And I had accumulated more, so I got a few weeks where I got to put in a little bit more money each time. But it was definitely a moment to watch with awe. I mean, that 2 months, month and a half, 2 month period was just, I mean, it was euphoric. It really was. And I can understand how, if you're trading, how you might get caught away with that and just lose your shirt. That's why I don't trade. I just DCA in and don't put anything in more than if it all went down to zero, I'd be upset. I'd be sad. I'd be, you know, I don't like to lose money, but it's not going to stop my lifestyle. It's not going to stop me from eating and paying rent. So anyways, thanks for your time, and keep doing the good work. And I talk to anybody I can whenever I can. I'm a truck driver, so it's kind of hard to see people a lot, but I do what I can.
Well, thanks so much for your call, Russell. Give us a call anytime. Just one more thing before you go. I think the most important thing about this Bitcoin and this market is to understand and to accept that nobody trades it correctly. A lot of people say that they know it and say they know all this, but really they're looking at old charts. Going forward in the future, I make mistakes all the time on this thing. I sell when it's going up and down. I sell at the wrong times. I buy at the wrong times. Everybody out there is making mistakes in this. So I would say just try to make the least mistakes you can. Try to go in with percentages like 70-30 instead of 100% in and 100% out. And dollar cost averaging, like you say, that's the best strategy. It's just safer. Don't invest what you can't lose. I know no one listens to that, but we say it all the time. And I really think it's true. But thank you so much for your call, Russell.
Oh, you're welcome. Just to let you know, I'm at 90% Bitcoin. The rest, a few what they call crap coins. But I only put into the ones that I think might go up.
Well, and that's the way to go. Just don't get attached. If they go up like 200, 300%, sell some, sell a whole good percentage amount, and just see how it goes. As long as you're not attached and it goes up and you don't think it's going up more or whatever, you can do a lot of money in those things. So
Absolutely. Thank you.
thank you so much. And you can give us a call now at 518-600-1949. Excellent call there by Russell. Good to check in with people, especially it's funny, because it's a call-in show, I suppose. But we do talk to a lot of truck drivers these days. You can see Mustafa; he's all over the map there because he's been traveling. And we had a couple other truckers call in. It's very cool. So, hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network.
But we do
Turn
talk
your
to a lot
speaker
of truck
down.
drivers these days.
And what's your name and where are you calling from?
Oh, yeah. Hi, Christian from Morro Bay.
How's it going, Christian?
And, okay, my earplug's not working. All right. How are we doing there? Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you. And how's it going today? What's on your mind about Bitcoin?
Yeah, great. Couple thoughts here. Also updating. I tried to start a meetup in Morro Bay and was rejected by meetup.com. So I'm going to have to resubmit, I guess, an application for that.
That's pretty weird. Why did they say it was rejected? Did they have any information on that?
They said it didn't meet their standards of fostering community. And, they asked for a little description of and bio. And I basically just put down, I don't have a copy of it, but that, discuss Bitcoin and all the creative uses and history and functions of it. So, yeah, I'm going to resubmit and try that again. Be undaunted with that. And they did refund my money. So I will try that again. And am also trying to get a Bitcoin ATM in the surrounding area. I guess I did contact one company. They seem to be interested in putting a Bitcoin ATM in a situation that's 24 hours, like a Chevron station that's just off a highway. So I'm going to try that route. I guess they didn't like the idea of the coffee house because they haven't gotten back to me either. So, just to forge ahead, undaunted. And let's see. Oh, yeah, a couple notes here. In looking at my Meetup account, I see that I've been a member since 2012. And that's when I went to the meetup group in Hollywood. And it was a Bitcoin meetup group. And that's, when Quark was a word and Ethereum was just like a nice glossy magazine. And it was very interesting in seeing that at that time, I think it was going somewhere, Bitcoin was about $350 to $450. And I remember thinking back then, gosh, that's so much. I don't know if I can really afford to get it. But I subscribe to the honey badger metaphor for Bitcoin, that, this is all just playing out and honey badger don't care. Bitcoin's going to, survive no matter what. This is all just detritus, it's stuff we have to go through. But what we're seeing is a lot of, mimicry of the Federal Reserve System. The idea of what we have in paper currency is essentially monetized debt. It's not really money per se. So when you mentioned, what was it? Bitfinex or something, they were printing tokens or whatever, and maybe that was tanking the price of Bitcoin.
Sure, the tether tokens.
Like
Yeah.
a quantitative easing measure.
Yeah, it's interesting the way that Tether is getting intertwined with Bitcoin. Tether is supposed to be a coin that's matched at USD 1 to 1. They're supposed to have money in their bank account that matches the amount of Tether that have been printed. But just like with all previous debt token schemes or gold token schemes, we don't know how many they printed. We don't know how much they have. It's a pretty questionable system, but that does feel like a kind of a vampire that's attached to Bitcoin. And maybe it's good in the short term, but like all parasites, it's bad in the long term.
And just a shout out to Bitcoin. For me, it's like really it's a financial literacy tool. It's kind of forced me to really take a look at my own finances and my own belief systems about what money is, and throughout the years I've read the Bob Kiyosaki Rich Dad Poor Dad books, and just kind of came to the conclusion that basically what he's advocating is rent seeking, on a ever grand scale, and it just didn't really turn me on. But what Bitcoin offers me as an individual and as a community, as an ecosystem, as a space, is really exciting. And I'm not even a technically savvy person. I'm more media savvy, but it just excites me to be, part of it, even on a small scale, and just being a hodler, and also keeping my day job, that kind of thing. And Tone Bays, I love him, but yes, he even says himself that he would be nuts to be trading Bitcoin right now. So he's just offering his form of financial literacy from his experience, and I think it's valuable. But you do it at your own risk, like Andreas has said. Buy as much as you can afford to lose. And also a shout out to you, Thomas. And I'll jump off, but I think what you're doing, passing out the flyers and doing the podcast and the call-ins is your form of guerrilla theater. I think it's very creative and exciting and a lot of fun. And just glad to witness and listen and share with that too. So that's the kind of energy I want to bring to anybody else who's interested in Bitcoin.
Well, thank you so much, Christian, and that sounds great. Good luck with the meetup. Definitely keep it up. If you need any descriptions for the meetup, feel free to take the descriptions from the Bitcoin Las Vegas meetup, or even the San Francisco Bitcoin meetup if you want. Like you said, I think just describing it better. Mine says that I'm going to have like social meetups, activity meetups, and speaker meetups, and those kind of things. I definitely agree with you about the guerrilla theater. I do kind of think of that thing down there with Fremont Street and that Las Vegas, welcome to Vegas glowing sign. I think of that as my stage, and I do want to use it every week. And when I look back at the old videos, like I did this one just released a couple of days ago, I look at it and I'm just so impressed with not only the lighting of that place at nighttime, that it's still pretty well lit and you can film there, but also just all the interesting characters that I meet going up and down the street. I couldn't pay to have people dress up in costumes and girls dress up in skimpy outfits and whatever else is going on the streets of Las Vegas. I'm just showing up and it's there, and I'm trying to tell them about Bitcoin, and some of them are interested and some of them aren't. And I just think I'm trying to set an example for everyone else that you can go out to your town square and hand out flyers about Bitcoin, or even just tell your family and friends about Bitcoin. I really do think this is how it spreads to normal people, and they can ask you a question, they can ask about the volatility or who owns it or whatever, and that personal touch, right? If we're salesmen, we want to be the salesman that shakes your hand and looks you in the eye and tells you the truth. And fortunately, we've got a great product in Bitcoin, so it's really easy to sell.
Amen. Amen to that, Thomas. Thanks a lot. I'll get off, let other people call, and keep it up, man. It's great stuff.
Thanks so much, Christian. And be sure to check out the chat. Someone in the chat says they live near Morro Bay. Maybe they could volunteer and join up and help you with your meetup. So,
wow, fantastic. Okay, excellent. Right. Thank you. Thanks again. Have a great day, guys.
And you can give us a call now at 518-600-1949. I've even heard that you can call with Gmail outside of the United States. So if somebody wants to give that a try, you don't have a US phone number, you can get a Gmail account. You can get like a Google Voice account. Not sure if you need both, but right through Gmail, they have a call icon in the corner, and you can give us a call. Otherwise, we will open up Skype calls towards the end of the show. In case you're an international caller or someone that only has Skype, we can still get you on the show. It's just we've had pretty good luck with the phone calls. So. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Thomas. It's Bitcoin Tabs from the Netherlands.
Oh, how's it going? Netherlands, one of my favorite places. What's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
I think about the last bear market. I started buying monthly in August of 2014, and I was afraid that it would go up to 1,000 very fast, but it didn't, and that allowed me to buy for more than I thought.
And for a while it was good, and now it's turned the other way.
Well, maybe it goes down, and I can buy even more.
That does sound good. As long as you're dollar cost averaging, as long as you've got a good job and you've got money coming in, that's definitely the best way to buy Bitcoin. And it's good advice, but of course I don't take it. I run into the altcoins and I run out of the altcoins. And if I had just built up a bag slowly, I would be in a much better position. So how do you have the patience to dollar cost averaging? Do you find it easy or difficult?
I find it easy because I believe in the future of Bitcoin. And well, if it goes down, I can buy more. And if it goes up, my Bitcoins are worth more. So it's a win-win situation. Only you have to trust the future.
Well, I agree with that. I think Bitcoin is a great protocol for money, that it bends, but it doesn't break. I do kind of get the fear when we go down to 6,000, all the questions come back. Most of them don't work for me anymore. I'm not into the tulips or the bubble or those kind of things. The Betamax one gets me a little bit, that maybe Bitcoin is like MySpace and there's a Facebook out there that's going to eat our lunch. But I also think back to TCP and the thing of bending, not breaking.
Right? It's not still old software. The new features are added. The best programmers are working on it. It's no question.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's the one. I still think there's no competition, but there is just this, general fear whenever the price goes down. Yeah, you don't know where it's going to stop going down. It's especially hard when you're living off Bitcoin and donations go down, and then the amount of donations go down. So I still just kind of get that fear out there. But it's great to hear that everyone has.
If you have no fiat income, it's more difficult and scary.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, I think it's the no fiat income. As long as you've got a normal fiat income, you can, pay your bills, pay your rent and stuff, and then dollar cost average in. I think that's the best way to be. I'm kind of living on the edge here and all that, but I like it, and I'm able to do these talk shows. And it's really a matter of, how long can I keep doing these talk shows? And if donations go up, and if I get some advertisers or some sponsors or something, maybe that would help, and all these kind of things. But no, I'm still all about the Bitcoin. What about in the Netherlands? Do you have a meetup there? Do you go to any? Have you told your friends about Bitcoin yet?
Well, yes, the most are skeptical, and one, believe me, did his research and also bought in at the good moments.
Nice.
So don't see it.
Yeah, it's so hard. You can't get your friends to see it. I remember one of the first people I told about Bitcoin was my roommate, who was a computer programmer, and I thought he'd know more than I did about computers. But then he was like, he didn't like it. He didn't like the Bitcoin. So, and that set me back for years, just because I assumed he knew what he was talking about. But I do think we have to do the effort and tell our friends and our family, even though it's difficult. And the one thing I like to do these days is just give them $1 in Bitcoin, or give them $10 in Bitcoin, and that's the way to go. So it's a good way to spread
I need to. Some people lose the Bitcoin, however, that's stupid.
it.
But
It definitely happens.
if anyone has interest, I point them to a wallet. I say, well, I'll give you some Bitcoin, and then we wait.
That's the way to go. I think that the direct demonstration really sells people on Bitcoin, because they can see that it's something real and that you sent it to them. And when you tell them you sent it to them without any banks or any corporations, it kind of blows their mind, right? They can't understand it after that. It starts to explode. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for the show. I'll keep listening and give other people a chance to call.
All right. Thank you so much for your call. Give us a call anytime.
Okay.
All right. Bye bye. And you can call us now at 518-600-1949. That was pretty cool, all the way from the Netherlands there, and on our US phone number. So it does work for international calls. I'm not sure if he was using Gmail, or if he just has an international phone line or something like that. But thanks so much for the call, all the way from the Netherlands. Had a great time out in the Netherlands. Just a wonderful place, beautiful. Well, mainly I saw Amsterdam. I saw very little of the rest of the country on my train ride in and so forth. But Amsterdam, just a beautiful city, so old, so well designed. I love the canals. There's something about being surrounded by water. Just every couple of blocks, you find another canal. You climb over another bridge. Just a fun place to live and to visit. I was really fortunate. I got to spend a couple of months there because a friend of mine has an apartment that he let me stay in, and it was just super nice. And again, I call him my friend because he is my friend, but I met him here through the show. He's a commenter on the show. He'd been commenting since 2013. I definitely recognized his icon and his name. And then I met him in real life, and he turned out to be a great guy. Pretty much everyone I met in Amsterdam was fantastic. Everyone I met in Europe was fantastic. I don't know. I'm just really lucky, or people are nice to me or something. But had great luck traveling the world. Met a lot of great friends, and made them even into more friends, and I would say family. A lot of them I just consider family. But I hope to get traveling again soon. I've been going to doctors and stuff, trying to get healthy and make sure I'm healthy enough to travel. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Thomas. It's Harry calling from Minneapolis.
All right, Harry, what's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
Oh, it's just about the same old, same old. I'm a longtime listener and a longtime follower of the World Crypto Network. And actually, I go back to Mad Bitcoins, when you kind of, were cutting your teeth in the space. And whatever happened to that guy?
Oh, Mad Bitcoins, he's still around. He still shows up from time to time again. But yeah, I need to do another Mad Bitcoins video. I did one not too long ago, and it's just a little frustrating. I really feel that YouTube is promoting these live videos more than they're promoting the pre-recorded videos. So the pre-recorded videos pretty much takes me all day to write it, to read it, to edit it again, to get it out there. And so it takes longer, and then you get less views and you get less comments, you get less results. Whereas these Bitcoin live shows, they only take the time it takes to record it, and YouTube seems to promote them like crazy while they're on. So I just started doing more of the live shows. I would like to go back and do some more Mad Bitcoins. I think it's fun, but yeah, it just kind of takes all day.
Well, a lot of the conversation this morning has really resonated with me. I think you have different types of profiles, and different type of risk profiles, that have gotten into this space. And your previous caller from Amsterdam, I think, that everybody should, at least buy a little bit of Bitcoin, especially now. I got into the space back in the beginning of 2016, and I was actually pretty heavily invested in gold and silver and precious metals, and that was the beginning of sort of about a down market. And there we went from $1,300 an ounce to down to almost below $1,000 an ounce, I had some extra money that had been kind of been saving for a while, and I decided I wanted to try to get into the market. And of course, I started listening to people like Peter Schiff and Jim Rickards and these gold bugs, and I'm like, God, I got to pile into gold. This thing's going to go to the moon. And then I just sat there every day for like 3 months. So I thought, well, I need to understand technical analysis better. And I started combing the internet looking for, a way to read charts. And I stumbled across a guy named Chris Dunn and Chris Dunn TV. And Chris was the first guy that I started talking to, or I heard talk about Bitcoin. And he explained everything kind of in a very methodical way. And he said, look, I've been a trader for a long time. I used to be, a professional trader, and I still have, some gold and silver, but I'm pretty much all in, to this market. And we had just kind of gone through the China bubble, and so there was a big pullback, but that was when I think price had gone from like $200 up to like $1,100, and then it came back down very similarly to what just happened last year. And I thought, well, okay, I guess if there's a time to get in, maybe now that things are kind of laid down and they're sleeping, maybe this would be a good time, to start accumulating. And then market-wise, the only way that I was able to find any real liquidity, was by buying GBTC, or Bitcoin Investment Trust. There were no ETFs, or there wasn't even conversation about ETFs back at that point. So I was able to watch this whole thing, where I was getting like $25, $30 moves, in GBTC every day, up or down. And I'm like, this is crazy. What is this stuff? So, I mean, just slowly but surely, I got drawn into the space. Then I opened up, an account with Coinbase. I started understanding a little bit more about Litecoin and then Ethereum, and I was buying that at like $4 and $7. And, I got my son involved, who was in graduate school, at the time. And, I kept on sending him these lists from Coinbase or from CoinMarketCap. And he thought, he goes, Dad, he goes, I think, are you okay? He goes, I think you're losing your mind. What is this stuff? And so we've ridden, a hell of a roller coaster ride. I mean, the only mistake I can honestly say is that I had a couple of gambling transactions, on Coinbase, so they shut me down.
Oh.
Kind of right when we were at the top, in December.
Mm.
So all of a sudden, I kind of lost my ability to liquidate, and so I'm actually still hodling all of my original coins from 2016, and that's Ethereum and Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash, and so all of the stuff that I'd had on Coinbase, I had to quickly remove it before they shut down the account. And it's been a little bit frustrating, obviously, with the situation that we're in now, but I'm a long-term believer. I believe that, the one thing I learned from Chris Dunn is, the Bitcoin obituary has been written probably 5 times, maybe more. And, there are a lot of, sort of degenerative, people out there who, I think they are just afraid of it. They don't understand it. The banking community, certainly, the financial services community, they're slowly coming around. But I'm not here pumping Chris Dunn or anything, but I will, recommend to anybody else that's listening, Chris, along with, watching World Crypto Network and, all of the different, views and all of the different um, opinions, you still ultimately have to do your own research. You have to make the mistakes, and hopefully, if the mistakes that you do make, you're not betting the whole ranch. I took a little bit, probably 5% of my risk capital, and that was at the most. And then that's what I ended up starting out with. I accumulated and added, and the only regret that I have is that I wasn't able to liquidate at the top, to replenish my risk capital pool. But I'm still in it, and I'm still a long-term believer. And all I've done, I feel like, is I've just created an edge for myself in the future, because now, if you're used to trading, traditional markets, you understand the friction points in trying to move money and move assets around, from your bank account to your trading account, and then waiting for trades to settle. And the minute that you were able to, that I was able to learn how to move from Coinbase to Poloniex to Binance, and then I was starting to be able to move these assets around at such a simple way, I thought, wow, this is all people need to do. They need to understand how this stuff works, because once you find out how it works, it's I don't know. I guess it's just like anything else that that you become very fond of. It's very, very addicting. It's and you really won't want to ever go back, to the way things used to be. I know I rambled on a lot there. I'm tying up probably all of your lights, but that's pretty much just what I wanted to say. Let this thing is going to take a nap and lay down, and it's going to breathe, and then hopefully within the next couple of months, we'll get some new capital and some new interest. And I think that ETF or no ETF, I'm still feeling that eventually the adoption and the use cases are going to need are that's what's really going to be needed. If people can just start using this, in a more simplified way, and merchants are able to start setting up Bitcoin terminals, where they can accept this stuff, then we're going to be back on our way again.
I definitely agree with you there, Harry. It is so much easier to set up your accounts on Bitcoin and these exchanges. I know my brother's done some work lately trying to get back into traditional investments, and you send your money to the account, and then you have to wait a little bit before you can trade. These Bitcoin exchanges, you set them up, you send in your Bitcoin from somewhere else, maybe even just $100 worth or something. Boom, you're trading altcoins in like 10 minutes. There really is no waiting. That's really exciting. It's also exciting to be in this volatile market. If you want to be a trader, we do have things that go up 5%, they go down 5%. And for a normal person, that's just terrifying. But for a trader, that's exactly what they're looking for, right? They want that volatility. They can make all their trades. And just compared to the traditional stock market, you might make 3% on Apple over a year. I think Bitcoin was up 150% year over year, something like that. So it's a totally different market, and I can see why you're so excited to get into it. I know a lot of other people that have. They lose their minds. They go crazy for this Bitcoin.
Well, the Coinbase situation, one door got closed, and then it forced open another door, and that's when I started, to use Tether more. So on our way back down, I've used Tether as a rail just to hold on to during these big down gaps. I'm not big into shorting. I don't really understand how to short. I'm not a big margin guy. I don't like borrowing, and I don't like trading with, with assets that I don't have. The important thing is to try to, and this is what I've tried to preach to my son is, markets go up, but they go down, and you've got to have some fun with this. If you keep your risk under control, I like your comments earlier about dollar cost averaging, and just understand your risk profile. If you're a swing trader in traditional markets, or you're just a long-term investor and hodler, understand who you are as a person and what your risk appetite is. If you try to get outside and you try to become a big shot, or you go, it's really easy to get caught up. Let's face it, just the chat bot, on TradingView, it's just ridiculous, and these. I wish I could get rid of some of these emojis, the moons and the rockets and the, the Lambos. And I mean, it's all fun, but, that kind of goes back to your Mad Bitcoin character. And, I think it would be good to give that kind of comeback again, just to, spread a little bit of, humility and love back around the space. There was a really, you played the character perfectly. And then when you moved into WCN and you were the only guy that wore a tie and a coat, and you looked professional, you sounded professional. I liked your voiceover, today, anyway, it's just it was fun. It was the first chance I had to call and check in with you. So keep up the good work, and I really appreciate all of your help. And I have no fiat income. No job. This is basically what I do now. I'm all about the space, and it's a little bit nerve wracking right now, but fortunately I was able, like I said, to do the dollar cost averaging thing, and I didn't bet the whole ranch. And but I am starting to actually accumulate a little bit more now, as I think we're getting close to the bottom. I don't think we're going to be. I am in an immediate reversal, in my humble opinion. I think we might probably scale maybe and consolidate for a few more months, and something will happen. There'll be another announcement. But we're also dealing with a very strong dollar right now, and a very strong bull stock market. So this is kind of how things go. I mean, and I won't make a lot of the same mistakes that I made before. I won't make them again, and that's the beauty of getting experience in the space. All right. Thanks.
All right.
We'll talk to you later.
Thanks so much, Harry, for your call, and keep dollar cost averaging. That's the way to go.
You got it, man.
All right. And you can give us a call now at 518-600-1949. It was a good call. It's good to talk to people about Bitcoin. Having a good time on this show. Taking it easy. And just to update Harry from the last call, according to 99bitcoins.com, Bitcoin has died 308 times. That's right, 308 times. They've got stats. They've even got an obituary generator. It's pretty fun stuff. Having trouble drafting a Bitcoin obituary? We're here to help. This is the Bitcoin obituary title generator. Is this Bitcoin's demise? Bitcoin bites the dust for the last time. And it's a good night for Bitcoin. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network.
Hello, this is Ranjit Gupta. I'm calling from Amatola Services, and I would like to help you with anything.
Aw, I thought he was really going somewhere there. He was going to sell me something. Come on. Oh, well, so much for that. He hung up. You can call us now at 518-600-1949. Hopefully a little longer than the previous caller. Let's do a couple more Bitcoin obituaries for fun. Is this Bitcoin's game over? Oh, I swear I've seen that one. 4 reasons why Bitcoin will not prevail. Ooh. Bitcoin's downfall is here. All right. And we're keeping it at it. Bitcoin Talk Show. Let's see. We got the meetup coming up tonight. That's going to be good. Oh, man, the food is so good at this bar. We went to all these bars in Las Vegas for the meetup trying to figure it out. And we found one bar that has fantastic food. So it's very good. I'm very psyched about that. Bar food's always kind of terrible. And this bar food was quite good. So let's see. People tweeting. It's all happening on tweeting. This guy says about Aretha, you better think. Think about what you're trying to do to me. Oh. But yeah, it was very sad on TV today. They're all running their Aretha Franklin tributes. And It was, it was certainly expected. She was an older lady, and they talked about her on the Lawrence O'Donnell show last night, and he was kind of giving her a shout out, saying she wasn't doing well. And 76 is quite a mountain to climb, quite a hill to reach. So let's see. I told you about my comedy show last night. That was pretty fun. She blew the other people's jokes out of the water. That girl that got up and plugged in her phone. That was quite something. I couldn't believe it. But I guess since we have a gap in this show, maybe we'll try to test out this Lightning Network wallet. Does anyone in the chat know how to use a Lightning Network wallet? Does anyone have any testnet Lightning Bitcoin or a testnet Lightning address that I could send to? Because mainly I've gotten through it. I created a Lightning wallet. Then I created a Lightning node that I connected to my wallet. And now my Lightning node is online and my Lightning wallet is online. And I think I'm good to go and I'm set. But I don't really know what to do next. I'm going to try to get a screen recording of my phone going here. This is going to work perfectly fine until my phone goes to sleep. Then it's not going to work. And I've been through that several times. Even right now, it's giving me the big scrolly. Oh, come on. You can do it, computer. You can do it. Oh, no, it's thinking about it, but it's not doing it. Getting the beach ball. Let's see. People have testnet, but their nodes are in mainnet. I know I'm so late to the party. No one can help me on testnet, but that's all that I have for the iOS wallet. Okay, I told it to switch to the phone, but it is not switching to your phone. I don't know that you can disable the phone sleep setting on the Apple these days. They got so security conscious that they're like, yeah, we can't have any more phones that would just sit there open all the time, even if you're running a demo, like a reason to have an open wallet. It keeps says that it's connecting to my phone, but then it keeps not connecting. Here we go. We'll do another call. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
And a good day to you, sir. This is Bud Thompson from sunny Southern California. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Bud. How's it going in Southern California?
I can't complain. It's doing really well. Wish it was as nice as Bitcoin, or Bitcoin was as nice as the weather out here. But, such is life. We're all riding the storm together.
And what's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
You want to talk a little alt?
Sure. What's going on in the alts? I think they all went down. I was pretty bummed, man.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it's just kind of the breathing the ebb and flow of the market, if we'll get another surge on it, or if this is the last gasp, if you will.
Well, people always come to me to bury the altcoins, and I'm not too into doing it because they always come back like a bunch of zombies. So every time you think they're done, they come back. Every time you think that they've hit a top or a peak, they go up more. So it's a tough market to be in. But what do you think? Do you think we'll see another altcoin bounce, or is it going to go lower?
I do believe. I still think we're still early. I got in last year. I actually caught a Tim Ferriss podcast interviewing Nick Szabo, and I had a indirect person in the family who was he went to college in Colorado, and he caught the Bitcoin trend real early in early 2012, 13. Didn't really get a chance to convince me on it. I was just investing in silver at the time. And yeah, I missed the boat on it. He couldn't answer me. How could government not just shut this down? Because I see this as a huge endangerment, to the dollar.
Sure.
I'm kind of a Ron Paul. I listened to the Ron Paul revolutionary back in the college days, and I hear everything he's saying about the dollar, and I think we're all seeing the collapses incoming.
It definitely looked that way for a while. No one knows anymore, but yeah, I've certainly always been into that Federal Reserve, U.S. dollar type stuff, learning about that. So it definitely got me into Bitcoin pretty early. But that's great. You heard about it from a Tim Ferriss podcast, and you had a friend to support you. One of my favorite big problems back in the day was I knew no one else that had even heard of Bitcoin. So I didn't know who to go to get a second opinion on this thing. And I was very risk averse. I had a hard time. I hate gambling. I just don't like it. And I had a hard time investing in Bitcoin. It took me a long time before I finally got in. So.
Yes, me too. And I think we all understand the security aspects and the risk on here. And I don't like to keep anything on exchanges. That was my first kind of realization of it. Is you're your own bank, you're also your own security guard. So I embraced the Trezor really quickly. One thing I really love that I got in last year was the open dimes. I don't know if you guys are using that a lot, but that's how I expose a lot of people. Go throw $20 on an open dime. You can get a 3-pack for $20, and I gifted that for Christmas, unfortunately, instead of cashed out last Christmas. But, you got to plant the seed in other people, and that's a nice tangible way. You give it in, you gift it to them, and they plug in the USB stick and see. I like to tell everybody this is a piggy bank, so you can just feed it until you break that seal, and then it becomes a two-way thing. But that's pretty revolutionary aspect of Bitcoin, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds pretty great. I've got to get one of those open dimes and try them out. I've seen a lot of people using those lately. It seems like a great way to hand out Bitcoin.
It's really neat. And I just saw a thing with Rodolfo saying you could get a Raspberry Pi. I think you need an image on that Raspberry Pi. You need some kind of folder to open up, and that's where the encryption comes in, where they generate your key. But you don't have to be on the internet to open up your open dime to get that thing started. And they just released something that you could basically print out your paper wallet. For those that aren't tech savvy and know how to do the paper wallet thing, you could print up your own private key, private wallet. Once you generate the seed, you puncture that seal, and it becomes like a two-way transaction. So you get your public key is generated through the picture, and then once you puncture the seal, you get your private key. So now you have essentially a cold wallet that hasn't been access to the internet or any way of being hacked, and then you can use that kind of deal.
Well, that sounds great. Good way to spread the word about Bitcoin. Do you have any Bitcoin meetups near you? Do you go to any Bitcoin events in the Southern California area?
I was going to Rocky Palumbo's last year, and that was out in the Ontario area. So it was a fight for me to drive through the traffic. I heard the last guy through Morro Bay. That's kind of a drive for me as well. But I'm kind of getting something going together. I'd like to kind of to spread my knowledge. I actually was in a cornhole tournament this last week. My clever name was Bitcoin, and it sparked a conversation with a couple people. There's some kid that was doing the scoreboard, and he actually created a bot. Poor guy got in December, so he's still he's playing around with it. But I was thinking bot trading. He's gonna get his act together, really quick. But again, he's here early, and as long as he sticks with it, we're all here, and we all got a lot of potential. I'm halfway through the Bitcoin Standard, and that's a great resource as well. If nobody's read that yet, and you kind of like history and sociology and all that kind of stuff, it's a real good story.
Yeah, I've got it on the shelf, but it looks like a heavy economics book. I tried to flip through it. It seems very detailed, so I'll get to it eventually.
It is. I've actually I've got the book, but I've ordered it on Audible. I'm not in the field a lot. I do a lot of driving, so I ingest all that kind of stuff, and it's kind of how I found your show as well.
Yeah, Audible is a great idea. I got a new book on there, Un-F Yourself. It's kind of a self-help book, but I definitely recommend that. And he's got a great Scottish voice, so it's really fun to hear him read it. And I didn't tell you what to do, but yeah, there's got to do some things, and he just tells you about it. But also, I am giving out permission to start Bitcoin meetups. if you want to start a Bitcoin meetup in your local area so you don't have to drive to one and you can spread the word to other people, I'd suggest going to meetup.com and starting up a local Bitcoin meetup, or at least search to see if there's one near you. But if there's not, start a new one then. There you go.
Sure, Thomas. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time.
All right. Well, thanks so much for the call, and give us a call anytime, bud.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. And you can call us now at 518-600-1949. So we're keeping it going here. We got about another half hour left on the show. I said I would open up Skype calls in case you're out there on the Skype. Maybe I'll run the two of them against each other, and Skype is still loading. But once they get opened up, whoever calls next will switch over to Skype if you guys call on Skype. So you can call us on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. Looks like there are some missed calls on Skype. I don't know if they were overnight or in the last few minutes, but let's give it a try right here. Like Jestet Nur is joking in the chat. Yes, I'm giving people permission to start a meetup. It's like the Tin Man. You know, you had, or the Cowardly Lion. You had the courage inside you all along. But you'd be surprised what it does to get permission, even when you don't need it. People out there right now, they're saying, yeah, that guy on the radio show said I should start a Bitcoin meetup. And I did say that. And I'm telling you, if there's no, we just took phone calls for like an hour and a half on the phone line. You have to show up earlier. I'm taking Skype calls right now to give the Skype people a try on the last 30 minutes of the show. Yes, you need my permission to do everything, as the chat is figuring out. Yes, that's right. But no, you obviously have the ability to start a Bitcoin meetup, but you might have never started a Bitcoin meetup or any kind of meetup before. So you might think it's really hard. But I would say is you just go to meetup.com, start your meetup. Where's my meetup? Here it is right here. Bitcoin Las Vegas. I made a couple of graphics for it. And all we do so far is we meet every week at this bar. We travel to different bars and restaurants so we can try out different places. And we just meet up and talk about Bitcoin. And sure, there's a lot of talk about the price, and there's a lot of talk about the technology and the altcoins and all these kind of things. And that's fine. That's a great time to meet up with some people that are into what you're into. And you're probably saying, oh, there's no one in my area that's into Bitcoin. There's no one at all. But we had that caller from Montana, and he thought he was all alone in Montana. But then we had a second caller from Montana. How about that? That's pretty cool. So there are at least two people in Montana who are into Bitcoin. So if you started a Bitcoin meetup out there in Montana, the two of you could hang out. Maybe you could get a couple more people. Don't be discouraged if no one comes to your meetups. Just keep meeting. Just pick a time, pick a date, pick a place. Just keep meeting, and more people will come. That's what I suggest. And you know, it's not working all that great for me. I only have a couple people going to my meetup right now. It's not really taking off like gangbusters, but I'm committed to keep doing it. All I'm going to do is just show up at this bar or this restaurant every week, meet some cool people, and that's about it. That's the plan. But we opened up the Skype lines, and no one called. So if you were going to call us on Skype at World Crypto Network, you can call us. We've also got the phone number. We've been taking phone calls for an hour and a half here. People have been calling in pretty good. But you can go ahead and give us a call now at 518-600-1949. And people are talking about Bitcoin. They say someone wouldn't even know about Bitcoin. They did a meetup in Milwaukee back in 2013. So people in the chat, whatever. So I'm gonna find something to read to you people if no one's gonna call in. You better watch out. I'm pulling up Hal by Ginsberg. Let's see. We're just doing the call-in show today. We got some good calls. We're talking about Bitcoin, talking about the price of Bitcoin. What else has been going on? Let's see. Where were we in Hal? Let's see. who sank all night in submarine light of Bickfords, floated out and sat through the stale beer afternoon in desolate fugazis, listening to the crack of doom on the hydrogen jukebox, who talked continuously 70 hours from park to pad to bar to Bellevue to museum to the Brooklyn Bridge, a lost battalion of platonic conversationalists jumping down the stoops, off fire escapes, off window sills, off Empire State, out of the moon. Yakety yakety, screaming, vomiting, whispering facts and memories and antidotes, and eyeball kicks and shocks of hospital and jails and wars. So just a little bit more of Hal there. But I was going to do a demo on this Zap wallet. I don't know how it works, so I need help from the chat. Does anyone have a Bitcoin Lightning testnet wallet that I could send to? Something like that. Let's go ahead and I'm going to show you the screen on my phone and where I got to so far with the Zap wallet right here. I've got the Zap wallet. Boom, I'll start that up. It's got Touch ID, pretty cool. Check that out. I got some testnet Bitcoin from a faucet. It was really easy. I put in my address and the faucet sent me money. I've got some transactions here. Don't really know what any of this means. Apparently, I have some open channels. I don't know what these are. I don't know if I've received money on these transactions or what they are. I think they're invoices. So when I created an invoice, I ended up with this transaction. I also have all these channels here. I don't know what these channels are. I don't know what they're connected to, but it says y'all's right here. Funding transaction. I don't know. So anyway, it seems like it's working. It's connected to the thing. I need people to send to and I need people to receive from. So maybe if I get somebody to help me, I might do a show about this later in the day. But for right now, it looks like we're running out of phone calls and we're running out of time. We've been on since about 8:50, so that's a pretty long show. I wonder what happened to my camera. Where'd my camera go? Ah, there it is. Hello, camera. But I think we're going to head towards the end of the show today. It's been a good one. We've talked about Bitcoin. We had a few calls. I just want to show the support World Crypto Network graphic one more time. If you'd like to send us Bitcoin or any of the crazy altcoins accepted on Trezor, you can always send them to the QR code on your screen right now, or support us on our Patreon campaign, patreon.com/WCN and patreon.com/madbitcoins. We've also got our $1 million goal to raise money to spread the word about Bitcoin. People in the chat want to help me out with a Lightning wallet, but I'm way too far beyond them. I'm behind them. They have the Lightning node running on mainnet. They don't have it on testnet anymore. So it's mainly because I'm on the iOS wallet. There hasn't been an iOS wallet really until now. Someone sent me another one that was a test wallet, and yesterday I was granted access to the Zap wallet open beta. So I'm in the beta software for Zap. Just trying it out. Yesterday I followed their instructions live right here on the World Crypto Network, at least most of their instructions, and I created my own Lightning wallet and a Lightning node that goes with my Lightning wallet. Then I can create invoices now so people can send me testnet Lightning coins. Then Dan is asking in the chat right now, you do need a full node to run Lightning. On the Zap instructions, they tell you how you can rent a droplet from DigitalOcean. It's like a very small Linux server. I then followed their instructions. You can watch the video live here on the World Crypto Network. Mostly it worked. A little bit of it I screwed up. But you can check that out. When you're done, you'll have your own Lightning node. You can connect it to other wallets, not just the Zap wallet. So presumably you could use an Android wallet or another open wallet and give it a try. Give the Lightning Network a test. I'm still on testnet Lightning, but I hope to be on real Lightning soon, and we are moving forward. So thanks again to everybody who watched and everybody who called in. Give us a thumbs up and a share. Be sure to subscribe down below. And we'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. right here on the World Crypto Network. Until next time, bye bye.